Please join me in welcoming to the stage Chief Executive Officer of Houzz, Adi Tatarko, and from CNBC, Courtney Reagan.
All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all. Love is all. Love is all.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here with you. I know you've probably had a very busy couple of days, and it's not over yet.
Well, thank you for coming over all the way from New York.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just to get started, if it's okay, because Houzz is a relatively new idea. It hasn't been around for centuries. Could you just explain to us what Houzz is and sort of your elevator pitch style, and maybe go through what your revenue streams are?
Yep. So Houzz started as a side project. My husband and I felt that it was pretty miserable process for us to try to renovate and design our first home ever. And it led to a community project in the Bay Area that exploded later on. Lots of homeowners like us that felt the same about the process, and many professionals, from designers and architects to contractors. Today we have more than 60 groups of professionals. And then the vendors of the sellers of the world. But it started exploding organically like this until we turned it into a real company. And today, it's the leading platform which provides an end-to-end solution for homeowners like us to deal with something that we're so passionate about, right? There is such a huge gap between, I want to create my beautiful space for myself and for my family. People kept dreaming about it for years using the traditional magazines and books. But the gap between that dream and actually executing was so huge, and so many broken pieces there. And now with technology and bringing the entire community together, everybody that is involved in the process, everybody is having much more fun.
Yes.
And that's what we wanted to do for ourselves. Apparently 40 million people a month, are using it now. 1.5 million professionals. So our little Bay Area community grew quite a bit all over the world. And the business grew based on that demand from the community. Since we didn't start as a business, we started to solve the user problem and try to create the best product, technology, user experience, and that's still our number one priority. That actually helped us shape up the business based on the demand from the community itself. So we have two major streams of revenues. One is coming from the professional side of the community, all the different service providers, again, from the design professionals to the contractors all over the world that are paying us on an annual basis to lift their brands locally. So the platform is completely free for everyone, but the ability to really engage with relevant people at your local area, that became very, very important for this community. And we help them build it for their brands. It's a robust revenue channel for us. The other one was also coming from the community. So from early days, we had the images coming with lots of data. One of the big pieces that we felt was broken, you see a beautiful image, but what do you do with it? Mm-hmm. How could we understand to take this and really break it down to the right people, the right products, the right materials, at the right budget? And since the beginning, we started tagging and connecting the images. We have over 13 million of them today on Houzz, wow. High retina display quality. And all the data is attached to it. So you can talk to the professionals that created the space. You can learn from other people in the community and that interacted with this project, as well as shop directly from these images after seeing it and visualizing it in your room. And because now we have the marketplace on Houzz, 8 million products and growing every day are connected on Houzz to these images. And that pretty much created a huge opportunity for us to serve the need of the community. Many people call the office and say, hey, can we get customer support here? We see this amazing bathtub, but we don't find the add to cart. You have a bug here. So even though we send them to thousands of different vendors and sellers, they wanted to close the loop on Houzz. And it's exactly what we did for them. And it built a second robust revenue channel.
So if I'm a user and I go onto the website or the app and I type in New York City bathrooms, for example, I'll get all sorts of search results that show me both contractors that have done New York City bathrooms, photos of those jobs, their contact information, and then in some cases, I can shop what I see in those images as well.
You can actually, so we released 3 new technologies in 2016 that really elevated that channel and the user experience in a significant way. So we released Sketch, View in My Room, and Visual Match, which was the last one. So I know that in this conference, many people talk about learning and how do you apply algorithms to connect the experience. But for us, having everything under one roof, it created an enormous opportunity to really elevate the experience, right? So the 13 million photos were there. Lots of data was there. We used to send people all over to get these products and materials. But now, with that catalog that is coming from 18,000 different vendors and sellers, selling over 8 million products on Houzz, we were able to train the algorithms and to create that visual match. So here is how it goes. People start many times on Houzz and they browse the photos, like you're saying, that beautiful bathroom. And they love what they see. They want to learn about it. They apply the visual match. And then they can see that product in the marketplace as well as similar ones at different price points. Now, they can take that and they can see it in their own room. So you just take your phone, you put it in your room, and you can see how it looks like. You like it? Put it in Sketch together with all the other products that you liked and create a mood board. Over 1 million of them were created since we launched it. And from there, if it's all good and it sits well together, click on Add to Cart and ship it to your home from all over.
So that uses augmented reality? Is that how the
That's,
application works?
stay tuned, more coming. These are the 3. So this is where we applied AI to the visual match.
Okay.
And we allowed people to visualize everything in their own room. We actually have a short video that explaining that user experience. If somebody can put it up there, we can see that experience. So as you can see, people are browsing. In this case, somebody is browsing for a side lamp. This is recognizing, so the visual match is showing them the same product. Now they can take the product, they can, in their own room, using their phone, see how it's going to look like. They measure it, they make sure that the measurement is right, they can put different comments. So people get really sophisticated with these sketches. And they're doing it by themselves, using the professional help, using, different spouses are using different sketches and they share them. And then add it to their cart, get it to their place, done. So we were able to really bridge the gap between I like something to I can actually get it and it's going to fit my budget and my style and everything that I want. So, but that's just the beginning. Much more is coming on that front.
Is Houzz profitable yet? Clearly you have revenue streams, but is there profit there?
Let's just say it, we're doing extremely well. One of the, I think, advantages of being still a private company is that you can still hold your financials close to the chest for a little bit, but we're doing very well.
And so speaking of being a private company, you are now, but is there something that you would ever look down the road and think about an IPO? Do you look at a company like Snapchat, which had an incredible first 2 days of trading? It has pulled back a little bit since, to be fair. However, the market is pretty hot right now, the IPO market. Is that something you're interested in?
IPO or not IPO, fundraising in general was never a goal for us. I think investors can be great in the private market. There are lots of advantages to the public markets. I think that every company needs to look at the different options at any given point and decide what's the right thing to do, as long as it's not a goal and you have options. I think that right now we're very, very focused and we have great investors on board on building lots of things. So it's not necessarily something that we have to do at the moment, but obviously down the road, as someone described it years ago, once you have lots of investors and lots of great houses in the house working for you, the genie is pretty much out of the bottle at some point.
Yes.
You'll need to share that love with more people around the world. And we're very grateful and feel very fortunate. We have lots of people from our community that are waiting to the opportunity to be part of it in an even bigger way.
So you've built a really interesting platform with House, and as you've described over the years, it's morphed into so many different use cases, an end-to-end solution. But is it something that couldn't be copied by competitors? I mean, you've got Pinterest, you've got bloggers, you've got Home Depot, you've got Lowe's. Could someone copy what you've done? Do you have something sustainable here?
I think that the big advantage of going very deep in such an enormous vertical is that you can create an end-to-end solution that is not so easy for copycats or others to really grab parts of it. You have a robust community, so that ecosystem is very, very important for us. We have users that are using us all the way from the inspiration to the actual execution, and we provide everything under one roof. But we also have that enormous community, everybody that is involved in the project, whether it's 1.5 million professionals that are using it to elevate their brand and reach out to the relevant clients and work on the relevant projects in the community, or brands or manufacturers and sellers. We actually were able to bring pretty quickly 18,000 different sellers, and many of them never even sold online before, but they were very active as part of the community, so the ability to go and elevate their business this way was enormous for them. I think that having top core technology, and we are very fortunate, living in the Silicon Valley and having the best of the best, groups of PhDs that, deep learning and what they did way beyond visual recognition is something that they are working on day to day at the right place, having that robust community and robust content, marrying all of them for a huge industry. People sometimes think, that's a nice niche, decor and design. Guess what? It's a $1.2 trillion industry just between North America and Europe. I'm not even including Asia, where we started expanding to. So it's an enormous opportunity, and we believe that that vertical approach, it's really good to take commerce and take the community experience to a completely different level.
And the housing market has been obviously seeing a strong rebound since we saw the crash in 2008. And that certainly helped retailer sales like Home Depot and Lowe's. They're publicly traded, so that's how we have that information. I mean, that is something that I imagine isn't hurting you. It's probably helping you, the interest in remodeling and home improvement. What happens once everybody's homes are remodeled? Does House lose interest for some?
Actually, what we see is that people keep coming back. I see us. It's a never-ending story because you have another child, the kids are growing up, you have different needs, you want to do different things to the house, people are moving, upsizing, downsizing, so there is constant activity. We have a huge research team at House, great economists. We actually produced the largest report for this industry in the US, and now we started doing it in many other countries. So when you compare it to the LIRA report, the leading indicator of remodeling activity, our sample is so large, so we started working with Harvard and others in the government that are conducting this research. What you see is that over time, when people get access to the right technology and the right tools, they kind of, okay, now they can think differently about remodeling and designing, and it's no longer, and I can assure you that, it's no longer just about resale value. When we started running these surveys years ago, when we first had the economists in-house, the top priority for people in the US was, we need to remodel because it's good for resale value.
Right.
And you see how that over time kind of went down in terms of priorities, and now people are saying, it's improving the quality of my, lifestyle. It's improving functionality for my family. I want to live better. So I think that access to the right information and connection to the right people and showing people that at any budget, you can do it very small and you can do it very big. When we started building House, the community, the organic community, grew mainly from people like us that, they own a house and they want to do something with it, whether remodeling or building from scratch. And that was the core of the community. But it's interesting because now millennials and other people with the marketplace capabilities and introducing different price points and different opportunities, they started being very, very active too. So even more active in some ways than other folks in the community. So it's interesting to see how over time, if you give people the right technology and you have the right conversation in the community, more people want to be part of it, and they come back. We have over 4 million discussions that started by people that wanted advice from the community, putting either sketch or view in my room or examples from their home, and wanted other people in the community to help them make it fun and productive and make decisions. So this is a community-based commerce and community-based discussion, and having all the content and the data connected to all the different layers. I think, I still feel like a child in a toy store when I go there. And we, after so many years, just finished last year with our own very first house. And we're still in that house, which is great, finally done. But it takes a lot of time, right? It's one room after the other, and more projects come up. It's really fun, and people love it.
So you were talking a little bit about the functionality of the home and how over time that may change. Are you seeing interest in the idea of a connected home from folks that are looking for remodels or updates, or are the technology companies farther than the homeowners are?
No, actually, there is a lot of discussion around these things. And when we are thinking about products and access to products and vendors that talk to us and brands that want to be part of it, it's definitely a big part of the discussion. When the economists run our homes annual survey every year, we get lots of inputs. Hundreds of thousands of people participate in very long surveys of what are their priorities, how much money they are going to spend on each one of these things. And definitely smart homes and technologies became a high priority. And we are there to show the data, show what people are doing, and give people access and ability to purchase the right products from the right brands.
And so you mentioned that you've expanded into Asia recently. Can you talk a little bit about the international models and where you are, and perhaps even the challenges to the different countries?
Yeah, so as I said, we started originally as a side project for ourselves in the Bay Area, and before we knew it, it grew by word of mouth to other parts of the US. But thinking of international, that wasn't something that occurred to us. And in 2013, we realized that actually 30% of our users are coming from outside of the US. And they are very active, both on the professional side, the trade side, and the homeowner side. So we started talking to them and asked, how do you use it? What do you do? How the industry look like in your country? And we realized that this is pretty much a broken process in many other parts of the world. And the professional communities were really excited to work with us and localize the platform. So in summer 2014, we started launching countries outside of the US, using the same playbook of community content and only bringing the business in when the demand is coming from the community itself. We started with Europe, and we launched in pretty much all the major countries across Europe and in Australia as well. But then we started seeing last year strong usage in Asia as well. Each country is, of course, different. Japan is dealing with very different situation in this industry just because of the history of the home remodeling. They call it home reform in Japan. And there are new things that the government is trying to apply in order to encourage the new generation to actually buy homes. They have 14% of the homes are vacant in Japan. They are not used to buying used only homes from scratch. And if the young generation cannot afford it, then it's an issue. So now they get tax deduction to go and remodel your home. Great, house is there to help you. So each country is very different. We are very thoughtful in terms of working with the community to localize it in a way that will be helpful. But we launched in Japan, we launched in Singapore. Last month, we actually launched in India. We realized, and how do we choose this country? It's not just point a place, because we do have users from every single country. When we run the surveys, we have users participate from everywhere, including the Vatican. So really everywhere. But when we looked at India and the other countries, what we looked for was how big is the professional community and how engaged, we can say they are and how much they want to help us localize it. We had in India 50,000 active professionals before we launched it there, collaborating with 1 million users in India before launching it there. So from our experience, once you localize it, and it's way more than a language, it's really tailoring it to the needs of the industry, we see a robust growth of that. And there is a lot of interest from our global community to get more access to Asia, whether it's Japan or India, the products, the materials, to be able to buy from them. Even the service providers, which was a big surprise for us, are crossing borders.
Wow.
In 2015 alone, 3% of the interior designers on House reported that they flew out of their countries to conduct work for House users in the community. So there is a lot going on in terms of crossing borders. The design language became pretty much global because of House, and now we need to support this industry in all these countries. But it's still fun. So as long as it's fun, and as long as we can still innovate and lead, that transformation and empower the people to think about it in a different way and to shop in a different way, we'll keep doing it. Why not?
So I have a big question for my last one. You are out in Silicon Valley, and a number of tech CEOs have been very vocal about the Trump administration. What does the Trump administration mean for House's business and perhaps your growth going forward?
So we never, and we'll never want to be, play politics here. Neither Democrats or Republicans. We have, of course, users and people that work at House, which we call Housers, that have different opinions. What we do want to make sure, though, is that our business, as well as our employees, in all the centers all over the world, will be fairly treated. And if this is not going to be the case, we're going to be extremely vocal about it. But that's what it's all about. And I do hope that even though we're seeing some signs that that may not be the case, this will be a successful administration, and we will not have to be vocal about these things.
That's great.
We want our people to be empowered all over the world, and we want to run the business in a way that makes sense for our global community.
I think that's exactly what everyone would want and hope. Thank you so much, Addie. I really appreciate doing this with us today. Thank you.